28 degrees here in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory. Good morning and welcome to your daily dose of sunshine, Sunrise Daily. I'm Maokwe Ogun Yusuf. I hope you had a great weekend. That's also for you, Ayo.
Oh, yes, I did have a good weekend. Thank you so much for asking. I'm Ayo Makene. Good morning and welcome to the program. It's 32 degrees centigrade in Lagos. And today, just to remind you, is the day you would call 5525, 2025. All right, so if that rhyme goes with you, and if it's your birthday, congratulations. So, Mark, where are you taking us this morning?
Well, we're going to the north of Nigeria, specifically the northwest region of the country, the home state of the immediate past president of Nigeria, General, he doesn't like to be called General Muhammadu Buhari, but hey, they say once a general, always a general. General Muhammadu Buhari's home state is where we're going to this morning, Katsina. And just on Friday/Saturday, the current president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, was in Katsina State to commission this piece of infrastructure which you're looking at. Maybe I shouldn't call it a piece, because some people will say, well, this is remarkable. It is now called the Eastern Bypass Road in Katsina. It's supposed to, when they say bypass, I'm sure you imagine that it means you don't have to go through the city. And you should be able to access the northeast of the country successfully without, going through the city. So yes, we did say Katsina is in the northwest, but somehow it tends to straddle the northeast and the northwest. So if you look on your map, Katsina is sitting right in the middle somewhere, carrying the weight of our border between Nigeria and Niger. So yes, you're looking at the new bypass that's just been commissioned called the Eastern Bypass, which should take you to the northeast of the country seamlessly without you having to go through the city. And just in case you're wondering what all that blue is on the floor, you know how things tend to look very, very tiny. But you can see that they've been neatly arranged on the corner. That also was a part of some of the equipment commissioned by the president for agricultural practices, yes, to help us improve our agricultural production and also improve food security in the country. So yes, all of the visuals you're looking at was the picture that we were able to bring you from the commissioning that happened on Friday last week. Ayo.
Well, the commissioning is actually of the road that you talked about. We understand is something in the region of about 24 kilometers long, and according to reports available, it took the government about 18 months to put it out. Now, those other issues you were raising, the agricultural devices you were talking about, they are for the Katsina Agricultural Mechanized Center, which the government of the state says will serve all 34 local government areas in the state, and about 400 tractors dotted the landscape, and in that area of the commissioning, which may come back to you in a bit. And one of the things to say about this is that it is infrastructure that should last long. And the president, while commissioning it, asks the governors, guys, face your jobs. Let your results speak. So, dear people of Katsina, how loudly is this project speaking for you in terms of development? And most certainly, any infrastructure, Maokwe, is something to celebrate. I mean, there are other options to what could have been done, but hey, this has been done, and it is indeed highly commendable, Maokwe.
Can say that again. No one ever quarrels with infrastructure, especially if it's meant to improve the lives of the people. What we're hoping is that this will continue to ease the way business is done in Katsina State. And as you can see, it is blessed with arable land. Do not be deceived by I'm sure even the vegetation which you see indicates to you that this land will be easy to till. It should be easy to, do some agriculture on, and also improve the food security of the country. The question will be, what has been done with regards to security? Because we do know that in recent times, Katsina too has also, had its own fair share of insecurity, and somehow they are battling it. Well, we're going to be talking about that. Well, it's going to border a bit on security and also the elections that are happening coming to the north central region of the country, in a place where, yes, they are also known to be the food basket of the nation. As a matter of fact, that is their byline. But it does appear that the politics in their state has been a bit unsettling in recent times, making it difficult for farmers to be able to go to farm, politicians to be able to politic. But we'll come to that after this break. Please stay with us.
By suspected headsmen as Governor Hyacinth Alia arrives Ukum for assessment. The governor, accompanied by security chiefs and the lawmaker representing Katsina, Ukum and Logo Federal Constituency, visits Gbagi and Afia for an on-the-spot assessment. The entourage is received by the community leaders who informed the governor in Tiv dialect that 29 corpses were recovered in Ukum at the time of his visit. The next point of call is Ugba, the headquarters of Logo local government area, where 27 persons were confirmed killed.
We lost 27 lives in Logo, and many more were picked up in some axes in Ukum local government. And those, for now, are 29. Many more are surely expected because as we went there, they were asking for some protection to get back to see how they can retrieve some bodies.
Worried by the scale of the attacks, with the casualty figures likely to rise, Governor Alia appeals for help from the federal government.
I'm calling on the federal government to support us, to come to our aid, and very promptly. I know that the federal government is supported very enormous, and our security heads and all their team have been working strenuously, non-stop. But for this still to have happened, something drastic, something strategic has to come to play.
Worried at the free reign of violence by suspected headsmen, the lawmaker representing Katsina, Ukum and Logo Federal Constituency advocates the siting of a military barracks in the area.
I presented a motion on this particular insecurity, and I requested for the siting of military bases in where it has happened now, and then in Shitile in Katsina local government. Unfortunately, the processes are slow, and we've not been able to achieve that.
With 59 deaths recorded as at the time of filing this report, the Benue state government is hopeful of federal intervention to end the menace.
So indeed, Benue State has been in the news for quite some time now for a number of reasons. First, we have this issue of insecurity, which the Governor Hyacinth Alia, has spoken on, and he did receive a delegation from the federal government led by the NSA, promising that the situation will improve. That visit happened in April, but before that time, quite a number of local governments, particularly Otokpo local government area, had been impacted by the wave of insecurity that hit the state. And at the last count, over 80 people were said to have lost their lives in different incidences in different parts of Otokpo local government area, extending into other local government areas as well. But before that incident was the issue of the local government elections, which held in Benue State, and also had, they ended in controversy. As a result of that, the local government elections were taken to a tribunal. And then there was now another controversy as to whether or not the tribunal could sit in Benue State. It was learned that the NJC asked that the tribunal be moved to Abuja, and there were protests against that as well. The reason why was because of a purported removal of the chief judge by members of the State House of Assembly, which is now very controversial because the NJC has spoken and said that that is not possible. Members of the State House of Assembly cannot sit and remove a chief judge. But it's unclear, but the judges in the tribunal are not feeling safe, so they said, oh, move the tribunal to Abuja. But then we understand that a high court has now ruled asking that the tribunal be located back to Makurdi. So you have all of these controversies coming out of Benue. First on insecurity, and then closely related to it is this issue of dispute over where a tribunal sitting on local government elections should sit. So we have joining us this morning a member, as a matter of fact, the deputy spokesperson for the House of Representatives, who comes from Benue State, joining us virtually in this conversation this morning. It's good to see you, Honorable Agbese. Welcome to Sunrise Daily.
Yes, thank you, Maokwe. Thank you so much.
Well, your state has been in the news, sadly, not for the best of reasons. It's either insecurity or one controversy or the other. But first, let us take the issue of insecurity, because lives and property matter, and people have to feel safe before they can engage in politics. How assured are you, since the visit of the NSA, that your people will now be able to go about their lawful activities in peace?
Thank you very much for the privilege to be here this morning. The current state of insecurity in my state is quite unfortunate. But before we get to the visit of the NSA, I think it would be good for Nigerians and the rest of the world to know the issues around it. You recall that when we came on board in 2023, when this government at the center and at the state level came together, all of us, majority, about 80% of us, being elected on the same political party platform. We, as representative of the people, we got briefings from the various constituencies, the senatorial district, which of course we put together as a report, and we approached His Excellency Governor Hassan earlier with a report, and we equally brought same before the floor of the National Assembly and other internal mechanisms to draw the attention of the relevant bodies to the situation in Benue State. Unfortunately, His Excellency Reverend Father Hassan earlier, upon receiving that report, promised, to pray about the situation. We tried to let him know that the situation is very critical. People are being killed, but he never accepted that position. It's almost 2 years now before his security team are giving him the right situation or rising from his prayers that he has accepted the current situation. Because these issues, started even before we came on board. The issue of herders, farmers clashes in Benue State has been on for quite some time, but unfortunately it became escalated when we came on board, and we drew his attention to it. He has continued to live in denial of that fact, not until recently, because when we submitted our report to the federal government, of course, shared that intelligence report again with the security agencies. Yes, Mr. President, in his wisdom, directed the security agencies to move into action immediately. But on meeting the state government, it was denial. So the reports were actually conflicting. The report of members of the National Assembly, the position of things as it were, and what the state government was telling the federal government. At every point in time, we raised the issue that our people are being killed. The governor will come out and say, no, our people are killing themselves, or that nothing was actually happening. So we thank God it is never too late. Now His Excellency has realized that fact, even though a lot of persons have been killed, across the 23 local government area that make up the place. But we thank God it is not too late. We just believe that His Excellency, our governor, will extend the needed cooperation to the military, the military apparatus, to be able to carry out their duty. And we are all ready, to support them as parliamentarians. And now that His Excellency has woken up from that slumber, we believe that if we all work collectively, we'll be able to address this issue in no distant time.
Are you putting the blame of this latest wave of insecurity at the foot of the governor?
Well, I think to a large extent, it will be unfair if I come before Nigerians in an opportunity like this and I say things that are not very clear or not very true. I think it is left for Nigerians to make that decision. But I've just told them what happened. If His Excellency had woken up, it is our government. We are all members of the All Progressive Congress, and I believe that in some quarters people will not be comfortable, to hear that. But the truth is that if His Excellency had woken up, to the time that we saw this negative malaise happening, taking place from our various constituencies, from the various villages, and we drew his attention to it, and we had all acted, the way we should have acted. I believe that some of the people who died recently wouldn't have been killed, or it would have been minimized to a high level. Having said that, I think we should, yes, we cannot tell families who have lost their loved ones, their breadwinners, to just forget the past. But I think the state government will still be able to right the wrong by organizing some sort of compensation to families that have been affected, and the other way around, working directly with the federal mercenaries to ensure that we nip this thing in the bud. To a large extent, I believe if all of us want to be honest, including His Excellency the Governor, will all agree that to a large extent he failed the people of Benue State in that aspect. But there's still time, for him to address those wrongs.
I'm really trying to get, for those, this is for our viewers who are watching and wondering what Honorable Philip Agbese is talking about. It is no news that there's been a rift between the current governor of the state, Reverend Father Hyacinth Alia, and his erstwhile godfather, who happens to be the SGF, George Akume, or, with the politics in Benue State. And so we have seen that, in Benue, you do have people who either who are loyal to Father Hyacinth Alia, or who are loyal to the SGF, George Akume. And it does appear that on matters of security, from what you're saying, Honorable Philip Agbese, what you're suggesting is that as a result of these differences in political camps, even though they all belong to the major umbrella of the APC, they were unable to see, they were able to come to terms or come together on the issue as vital as the security of the lives and property of the people of Benue State. Is that what you're suggesting, Honorable Philip?
No, Maupe, let me make this very clear, because the people who come around to kill our people do not know who is a member of the All Progressive Congress or a member of the People's Democratic Party. Our enemies, the killers who come after our people, they kill everyone irrespective of your religion, your race, your tribe, or even political affiliation. So in trying to address that, I do not think that the question of the rift, the rift in quote, at the level of party discussions at the state level has anything to do with it. This has to do with the issue of ineptitude. It has to do with the issue of incompetence on the part of people who are supposed to act. As a matter of fact, we visited members of the National Assembly caucus, including the PDP, the Senate Minority Leader who is of the PDP. We visited the Chief of Defense Staff to present a situation to them. And I recall that at that interaction with the Chief of Defense Staff, the report they were getting, they were actually conflicting, because each time we came out to tell Nigerians that this is what is going on in our state, of course, probably His Excellency might have been giving wrong briefing, or he was seeing everything to be politics. But rightly to put it, security, the life of our people, the security of their property should never be politicized. When we were campaigning, we told them that we're going to solve these issues. You recall recently when the former presidential flag bearer of the Labour Party wanted to visit Benue State, to sympathize with people in the IDP camps. Even His Excellency issued a declaration that he was prohibiting any visitor coming from outside Benue State to visit our people, to sympathize with our people. And I think these things, they go beyond party line. The presidential flag bearer of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, is not a member of the APC. He does not belong to any of the camps in Benue State. This is just a normal sympathizer who wanted to come to sympathize with our people. That again we understand with His Excellency the Governor of our state, because when we were coming on board, we went across the 23 local government areas to campaign.
May I interrupt you just quickly, because you spoke about ineptitude and ineffectiveness on the part of those who are to act. Who are these people who are ineffective and who are exhibiting the trait of ineptitude?
Well, that boils down to the office of His Excellency, the Governor of our state, because people have been killed across the length and breadth of Benue State, and this is not the time for any one of us to begin to mesmerize the issue or begin to speak from both sides of our mouth simply because we are members of the same political party. We value the lives of those, that have been cut down as a result of the activities of these headsmen. And again, as patriots, we should value the lives of every Nigerian, whether they are from our constituency or not. So to a large extent, on this aspect of security, I think our government at the state level has not lived up to the expected, has not lived up to expectations, of the common people and the international community at large. So I believe that the recent visit of the National Security Advisor will bring about a synergy between the federal government and the state government, and coupled with our intervention and collaboration as national parliamentarians and those at home. And again, I would like to say that as people representing our people who have been given the privilege to represent our people, it will also be good that we do away with some of these selfish interests. The issues that are bringing conflict back at home and not allowing governance, to actually scale through are not really serious issues. The issue of who is the leader of the party at the state level, who is next to God, and so on and so forth. I don't think those issues are in any way important. When you mention the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, of course, Nigerians know him as a perfect gentleman. He's working very hard supporting Mr. President at the center. And all that he has said, or he has asked every one of us to do, is to collaborate, cooperate, and ensure that we deliver to the people in line with our campaign manifesto, in line with the party's manifesto, and our various positions, promises to the Benue people. He has never made any demand that are personal or to satisfy his selfish interest. So I just want to say at this point that as leaders, people have been given this privilege. It is good that we all work together, and we are seeking, the partnership and the collaboration of His Excellency, the Governor of our beloved state. We work together. We love him. We want to see him do better. We want to be able to fulfill these campaign promises to our people. So security is very important. People are concerned, from every part of Benue State today, including my own constituency. People have been killed. And thank God with the recent intervention of the federal government and the fact that His Excellency has now agreed that there is a problem.
Well, Mr. Wese, I beg your pardon, Honorable. I can't even begin to imagine how you and everyone in Benue State is feeling right now. But there's something you said about, that these issues should not be politicized. Do you think this issue is in any way political? Is there any political lineage to these attacks at all?
Well, the crisis in time past, as was dissected by experts, security experts, and leaders, people have various angles to it. But for us, we believe that when you want to solve a problem, you must address it, one, with facts. Secondly, you must be very truthful and honest in the way you intend to address that problem. I think what has been lacking, which all of us who have come to the realization most recently, is on the part of His Excellency not to even accept the truth, not for him to even accept the facts. If all this while every one of us had accepted the fact, because, for instance, during the administration of His Excellency Governor Samuel Utom as governor of Benue State, a law was passed in Benue State called the Anti-Open Grazing Law. This law, when it was enforced, was not totally to restrict people. The other day I listened to His
Honorable,
Excellency,
I
our
apologize for
governor, when he
butting in
mentioned the
again.
ECOWAS
If you
protocol.
can hear me,
And
just a
you see,
second.
this is how the
Honorable,
ECOWAS protocol
just one
works
second if you
in
can hear me.
Nigeria and
If you can hear me,
other treaties
Honorable.
of such nature.
Honorable, just one
Yes.
second. I'm not sure that the issue is being addressed. I just asked a simple question. If you think that this issue is in any way being politicized, and if so, who is politicizing it?
Okay, I think if you have a serious problem, your house is on fire, and you refuse to accept the house is burning simply because you don't like the face of the person who has come to tell you that your house is on fire, in that direction, one may not be wrong to say someone somewhere has politicized the issue. But what I'm trying to say at this point is this. Recently, His Excellency, the governor of our state, mentioned the issue of ECOWAS protocol. And I think he does not understand how the ECOWAS protocol operates.
So I take
The
it,
operation of the
Honorable,
ECOWAS
my
protocol
apologies again, because I would like us to
in the
stay
area
within the
of
confines of the
migration.
conversation. Just a second. So you're saying that it sounds to me like you're saying that the lack of political cohesion between you and some of you and the governor is creating some kind of political upheaval in the state. Is that what you're saying?
I think to put it in a better perspective, I said, if you get me clearly, that we made a presentation of the situation to His Excellency the Governor. Let me agree with you that it is his refusal to accept the reality that has brought us to where we are today.
Okay, maybe that's in a way putting it at the foot of the governor, whom we hope will also be glad to engage us. But you know, to the real issue, I've looked at the map of Nigeria, and I'm looking at the location of Benue State. Is bordered by Taraba, Nasarawa, Kogi, Enugu, Ebonyi, and Cross River states, and Cameroon.
That's correct.
So, where are the attackers coming from?
Well, as the chief security officer of the state, our brother and neighbor, the governor of Nasarawa State, made a recent intervention as far as this issue is concerned. He told us that when the anti-open grazing law was enforced, these people used to come from part of Nasarawa State into Benue. And if you look at the worst hit, the areas that are worst hit, you look, it revolves around the borders, around Nasarawa State, where you have Guma, have Way West, you have Agatu local government area, and of course through Agatu you get into Otukpo local government areas. From the area where I come from, which is Enugu and Ebonyi State, we have been able to bring about peace, in terms of conflict issues around that area. And if you look at the area between Obi local government area, Vandekia, and Cross River State, the issues there are not very serious. But around Taraba, where you have Ukum local government area and another part of that border towards Buruku, in that area, we have these issues there. So recently, our brother governor from Nasarawa State made it very clear to us that the issue of the anti-open grazing law was actually helping, and that when His Excellency, his brother colleague governor, came into office, he relaxed the law, and this issue, was escalated. But just to add a perspective to it, because His Excellency some time ago had erroneously mentioned the issue of ECOWAS protocol, and I believe that he does not understand the workings of the ECOWAS protocol. Just like what we call the EU Treaty on Free Movement of Persons and Migration, the treaty does not restrict the movement of persons, just like the anti-open grazing law is enacted by the past government. It is not to restrict the movement of persons. What it says is that when a person crosses the border, he is to be documented and registered. So when people come into your state, you are not to restrict them, but you need to know them. They need to, if they must settle in your community, you have to know where they are coming from and where they are going. That is the operation of the ECOWAS protocol. So if you leave Nigeria to Ghana or to Togo, upon arrival, you have to be documented, show your ID card or your passport. Not like you don't need a visa to go there. You arrive there and you are documented. The questions will be asked: where are you coming from? Where are you going? What are you doing here? So it is expected that the operation of the anti-open grazing law in Benue State, when these herdsmen arrive, in any location within Benue State, they are documented. They are made to meet the local authority in that community, the chiefs, the traditional rulers, the councillors, then to the local government, and they are documented. We know them. So it is, the removal or the inoperation of the anti-open grazing law that has actually brought us to this point. And who is responsible, for the removal of the anti-open grazing law? Because the law was passed and enacted by the state government, and it is the duty and responsibility of the state government to ensure that people who come into our state are documented. It is after these people are documented that you now approach the security agencies to say, we have these people in our vicinity, and your duty is to maintain law and order. So you don't cause this kind of confusion and begin to place the blame elsewhere on the security agencies or on the federal government. We have to do what we are supposed to do. And I think that is what is important. By us realizing at this point in time, that there is now a crisis, even though it took almost 2 years for the government to accept that there's a problem in Benue State, I still believe that it is still a step in the right direction. And by God's grace, all of us working together as partners in progress will still be able to address the situation. Not because we are not mindful of...
This is just a simple yes or no. I'm going to be asking you. What you're asking for is a return of the anti-open grazing law. Is that correct?
Yes, because in every community, in line with the wisdom of the European Union for free movement of goods and persons, down to the ECOWAS protocol that permits the free movement of persons within the ECOWAS sub-region. It is not for anybody just to come into your locality. These laws are there not working against the protocol. They are working to strengthen the protocol. That at the lowest level, when people come, they comply with the ECOWAS protocol on movement of persons and movement of animals. That people should be documented. There's nobody who wants to live in a neighborhood that he's not aware or not conscious of the people who are his neighbors. So people need to...
Honorable, I think you've made the point very clear. We're totally out of time. I wish we could take a little more of your interventions. But we have to thank you very much for coming on the program this morning. Honorable Philip Agbese is the Deputy Speaker of, Deputy Spokesperson. Yes, Deputy Spokesperson of the House of Representatives, a member of the APC, and also comes from Benue State. Thank you so much for speaking with us this morning.
It's a pleasure. God bless you.
Well, we take a break now. When we come back, we'll be going to another controversial matter. But this time around, it's dealing strictly with politics and delineation and how it affects voting patterns. In just a moment, please stay with us.
Well, thank you so much for staying with us. The unease surrounding the recent ward delineation exercise conducted by INEC continues to generate reactions, interests. By way of a background, don't forget that INEC's delineation exercise was initiated in response to a 2022 Supreme Court judgment which mandated the commission at INEC to review and update ward boundaries in Warri Federal Constituency comprising Warri North, Warri South, and Warri Southwest local government areas as per constitutional requirements. Let's have conversations this morning on the Urobo perspective to the issue with Dr. Imwere Ejiro, who is a researcher, activist, and Urobo historical archivist. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Good morning, sir. Good morning, viewers.
What's the root, in your opinion, of this whole, should I call it confusion or unrest about this particular exercise of INEC?
Well, it is rooted beyond INEC. It is British colonialism. When the British came, they joined people, different tribes entirely, the Urobos, the Ijos, and Ichekiri, who hitherto have been living together peacefully without one lording it over another, and call it Warri. It was province. In fact, at the time, the entire Delta State was called Warri Province. And
was it a problem at the time?
There was no problem until the Ishekiri crowned a king for themselves, the Olu in 1936. When they did the initial arrangement, there was no Olu. Most of the kingdoms in the Delta province then, that's Warri province there, were in a state of interregnum. In fact, most of the people had abolished monarchy, including the Inshekiris. They were now being ruled by chieftains. You understand? But when the British came, they wanted an organized system of government. And so they encouraged gathering people together. Those that had kings before, they resuscitated the monarchy, gave them king. Why those that don't have kings, like mainly the Urhobos and the Ijos, practicing gerontocracy, ruled by elders, they will not place them. It's just for the purpose of easy access to tax collection. And so they call everything together and call it Warri. It didn't just happen here. For example, today this area is called Lagos. Ikeja is called Lagos. But the main Lagos is Eko. But that does not make the Oba of Lagos to say, I own everywhere, in as far as it is called Lagos.
So is that the situation?
Yeah, that's the Shekiri mindset. They say, once you call the place Warri, it's our property. They forget that Warri is a political creation. And that is why we have advised government. Since people are linking traditional kingdom to a political entity, change the name of, that was what Awolowo did in 1952. When they crowned him as Olu of Warri in 1952, the people in Warri province were protesting. The protest became so large that Awolowo understood the problem for the first time. It's okay, since he wants the title Olu of Warri, let's change the name of the province from Warri province to Delta province. And that was what calmed the situation. But unfortunately, Awolowo solved the problem halfway. He didn't change the name of the Warri division, which also contained the Urhobos and the Ijos. And that is what is playing out today.
This matter, as you are talking about it, it dates back more than 60 years since the colonial masters left.
Yes.
We have had several democratic and military governments over the years. We have had members of the parliament in the federal government and the state governments from these areas that you're talking about. How come no one has been able to see the political problem that according to you has been known as far back as 1936?
But sometimes people forget that most of our problems are created by the government. And so to solve the problem, to me the same government to solve the problem becomes difficult. For example,
well, your people are in government. The legislator is government.
Good. When we say there are people in government, they are composite people. The Ijos are in government, the Shekiris in government, the Urhobos are in government. From them, they have the common front. There have been various commission of inquiries. Since 1967, the Rodesvifo Commission, the Idoko Commission, the Danjuma Commission, the Edemeka Agu Commission. The recommendations are there. Create a separate local government for these three tribes. Government will do it. Some will not use their influence, their connection. You know, there's what connection is real in Nigerian politics. So, this person is a wife to the president. For example, we heard today that the capital of Delta State that ought to be in Warri was moved to Asaba because the wife of the then president, Babangida, was from Asaba. So, connection is real. Look at, for example, the Ijaw crisis of 1997 to 2002. They followed the commission of inquiry. They put the local government headquarters in Ogbijo, which belongs to the Ijos. Within 2 months, it was taken to Ogidigbe, which is an Ishekiri town. And then the thing degenerated into a full-blown war for 5 years until it was brought back. But anyway, so that we don't waste time, we want to go straight to this delineation proper because time is not our friend.
The reason I'm asking is, okay, so this delineation issue now that interests are as divided as the issues are. We have elders in Ishekiri, we have elders in Urhobo, we have elders in Isho. Is it impossible for the elders to come together and at least discuss it amicably?
That is the way forward. Negotiation. The Urhobos and the Ijos, as I'm telling you, are negotiating. The gray areas, I'm an Urhobo man. We too, in this delineation, we have our issues. The little mistake INEC made, we have identified, we've reported to INEC. INEC said, negotiate among yourself. Come. But the Ishekiris don't want to negotiate, like I told you. There is this colonial mentality of overlord that was given to them by the British. And it is, sorry to tell them, a burden too heavy for them to carry in the present reality. They can't carry that burden. The fact, for example, that the British placed you as the only king of the Warri province at that time, whereas there are other indigenous tribes. These things have, even in Bauchi State, like I told them somewhere, the area of Bauchi, the people of Tafawa Balewa village, who are Christians from the Sayawa tribe, were placed under the emir of Bauchi Emirate. And that has been the root cause of the Tafawa Balewa riot until recently the state governor had to give them their own king and gazetted it for peace to return. So, and the most painful thing is this, the Shekiris, who because of virtue of, they were close to the British colonialists, they became the first to be educated. That was why they got this privilege, are the minorities. And so, democratically, the game will not favor them because they don't have population.
Okay.
Democracy is a game of numbers.
Okay. So, what's the solution for you? Now, you have talked about, you have agreed that the elders need to come together. Now, is that a political solution or a communal solution that you're looking at?
It's a communal solution, but it has to be facilitated by their political elites. But these political elites will be the beneficiary of the system. When voting, normally they will be the people that will get the votes of the people, go to House of Assembly, National Assembly, and the rest. So they have their own interest to protect. But everyone must come to the negotiating table because this delineation is an order from the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said whatever delineation that has been done in the Warri division, that is the Warri local government, is a nullity, it's not a void, that it was all rubbish. INEC should go and do it again, that the voters register is fraudulent, and that those words were fraudulent. And so INEC had to repeat it with the Supreme Court judgment in mind. Now, some of them were still relying on the old syllabus, but by the virtue of the Supreme Court judgment, a new syllabus has been given to INEC.
Okay. Okay. Just 1 second, Malkwe, my colleague has a question for you. Go ahead, Malkwe.
You know, looking at Warri and knowing the fact that, you know, all of these ethnic groups that you've mentioned, the Ijaw, the Shekiris, and the Urhobos, have mixed together for a very long time now. And you cannot exactly say, okay, this place belongs, or this place is strictly Shekiris, this place is strictly Urhobos, this place is strictly Ijaws. Yes, they have their, well, I say they have areas where they are dominant. However, you know, when you look at how elections work, you're usually working to elect 1 or 2 individuals, and sometimes communities must come together. Why are these numbers particularly important to either Shekiri, Urhobos, or Ijaws? Why?
Because, as you have said, there are areas that are Urhobos, there are areas that are Shekiris, there are areas that are Ijaws. And the Shekiri man in power, we concentrate development of infrastructures on his community and his areas. He wouldn't bother to develop. So while some areas will look like highbrow areas like Ikoyi, the other areas will be looking like slum. And everybody sees it. So it's like using the common patrimony to perpetuate the interest of your own tribe. And that's not good for the existence of everyone.
That's what this is about? Is it about the governorship of the state? Because some people will argue, I mean, when you had Dr. Emmanuel Uduaghan, some people said, oh, he didn't really concentrate resources in Warri where he's from. He's Shekiri. A lot of the resources went to Asaba. He said he was concentrating on making Asaba look really like the capital of the state. So where precisely would you say that all of this is really coming from, this agitations for, you know, we are more than these people are?
Because democracy is a game of number. For example, it is very difficult for an honorable man today to become the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We also need development, like the Fulani people. We hear that we should have cities to be big as Lagos. Our cities should also be big as, for example now, the worst road in this country today is the Benin-Efrun road. Simply because if our son were to be the president, it would be good, that road would be smooth. If we're coming from Efrun to Lagos, you spend about 3 hours on that road. But once you pass that Benin axis, from Ore to Lagos is very smooth. It all shows We have the oil. Has the Yoruba man been given the GMD of the NNPC before? No. The Fulani man will be appointed to come and supervise our oil resources. So also is the Yoruba man. So when people are in power, tribalism is entrenched and nepotism is entrenched in our policy. We cannot deny it. And it's also playing at the local level. And that is what is happening. It's either the capital infrastructure or using the wealth to empower their own people. That's what's happening.
Yeah, but how is that going to now come forward when, you know, you are also not united? So, for instance, if someone were to be appointed from Delta State, it will now be, oh, he's not my tribe, he's not Urobo, he's not Ijo, he's not Shakiri. Where, you know, who exactly, whose interest will he be representing? If the people of that particular state cannot come together, you know, to say this is our state and we want a total development of the entire state.
Yes, that's what we want. For example, we the Urobos, like you have rightly noted, Emmanuel Dwaga became governor. We the Urobos are the absolute majority in Delta State. It was an Urobo man, James Ibori, who insisted that the Shekiris, being the least tribe in the state, should have a governor. After that, it should rotate to Delta North. But in Warisa local government, the Shekiri man has sworn that an Urobo man will never be the chairman of the local government, despite the fact that they all have 6 equal wards. And whenever, and you talk about people making petitions, whenever an appointment is given, mark it, it is only when an Urobo man is given an appointment, the Shekiri man makes petition. The Urobo man and Ijo hardly does that. They hardly. We are coming here today to simply because the Shekiris were here before to distort the narrative. If not, we hardly come here to say anything.
Well, it's at the end of the day, what you want and what everybody wants, what everyone is looking at is a solution to all of this.
Yes.
And I'm hoping that, as you have said, let all the various important interests come together around the table, because there are political leaders and then there are communal leaders. I think, you know, that will eventually help. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Dr. Imwere Ejiro is a researcher, activist, and Urobo historical archivist. Thank you so much again for your time.
You're welcome.
Okay.
It's a pleasure. Yeah.
Well, just 1 or 2 messages from you, but I'm told that we are totally out of time. Thank you so much for the privilege of being a part of your morning. Have a wonderful rest of your day. I'm Ayo Makinde.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. I'm Maupe Ogri Yusuf.